Hello and welcome to the Power BI basic training. In this video, we will be going through Power Query, which is the underlying backend of all the visualization and stuff. So whenever we import data, there are two options given whether to have a kind of a load transformation of the data or directly load the data. As you see, we have imported a sample data set which is called financials, and I will just go through the interface of Power Query editor, and in that in this way I'll be going through each and every sections and values of how it is working, and what is the functionality of the Power Query editor. So when first time you load some data, you will be prompted to load or transform data that we will be going through later on. But now since we have loaded the financial data, we can click on this transform data. This will open up the Power Query editor, and we will give an interface to prepare and transform the data. So just clicking on that, it is opening up Power Query editor. And if you see here the menu and related to the Power BI desktop, it's a bit of a change because here we are giving more options to transform the data accordingly. So this is one query here. So every time you load some file or connect a data with the data source, it will be as a separate query. We can create the duplication as well as do some stuff as well in this regard as well. So this is the query menu section. Center part covers all the data that has been loaded with all the columns, and the right side gives query settings. And this is probably the best thing about Power BI, that all the steps that we apply to that data are stored here, as a logical sequencing of the steps. So what this gives an opportunity that whenever you want to revert to previous step just to have some troubleshooting and stuff, we can always do that. We'll be going through this Power Query settings and applications, but I'll go through the menus first. Each menu will have its own functionality and all the purposes there. So yeah, so quickly going through the home menu. There's a close and apply button where we can either close or apply, or close and apply settings. Once you close this, it will take you back to the Power BI interface, which is there, and with all the transformation steps that have been updated, will be refreshed and updated accordingly. We can always have new query that we can either to get from the source, or have some recent source, or even we can enter data as well. Data source settings can also give opportunities in regards to that. So this is current data source settings, and we can either change the source, means that we if the file path is being changed, we can always do that. And we can also edit permissions as well, or we can export the Power BI data set in this regard, or we can clear permissions in regards to the accessibility. Manage parameter means that it runs through a function, where we pass a parameter and accordingly that function executes, and in that way we can always use dynamic one query, and then with the multiple inputs we can do that. The query have section has some buttons which is called refresh preview. This means that if you're working through and the data is changing, we can always refresh the preview, or refresh all means that it can refresh all the queries that are there in that. If you open up the property window, it's just giving you a description, and also the finance, the names and description we can update, or have a checkbox like to enable the load to report, or include in the report refresh. So this means that whenever we press refresh or schedule a refresh in Power BI. You know, in that we can always do that. So yeah, so this is pretty much it for the query section. Advanced editor is the coding. This is using M language, and it applies all the steps and stuff that can be done here. So this means that we can add and remove functionality, or if you see here, all the steps that's been applied here can be programmatically automatically updated here as well. So it's better that we can have knowledge of adding, dragging and dropping, but also to have the knowledge of programming language to transform things, and to especially to troubleshoot. So this is one thing. The manage option is that there are two things, whether of course you can delete that as well, but you can duplicate that. So if I click on duplicate, it will create another financial, but with the same steps and stuff. But for referencing, this means that it will take that query to the and it will reference them. So for example, if there are 20 steps that we have applied to transform, and then we reference it, so it will just create a copy that is referencing that. So for example, if I open up that, it is, if you see here, this is referencing the source as financial. So this means half the all the steps already done in one query is now referenced in the next one, so we can transform. So for example, if there is a center table, and then we need to filter it according to the requirements, according to the countries, for example, we can always do referencing and apply different steps as well. So yeah, that's what it is. And this home button also has um, choosing the column or go to the column. So if you want to go specifically to a column, for example month name, it will open up, and it will highlight the month name as well. We can always select the columns that we want, and rest of the column can get removed automatically. And if I do, for example, um, if I remove month number here, for example, it will create a step, and eventually it will remove the other columns as well. You can revert it back by deleting that. And remove column means that we can either remove the highlighted column or remove every other column as well. For row manipulation also it works like this. So for example, if you want to keep the top rows only, so how many rows you want to keep, how many bottom rows you want to keep, or how many range of rows in between the first row to the number of rows. We also want have an option to keep the duplicates, keep the errors, remove top rows, remove bottom rows, remove alternate rows, remove blanks, remove errors. That can be done. We will be going through the reducing the rows calculations, and as well as the column details as well in that. So that's pretty much it. We will be having and going through the separate report in that. We can sort the columns accordingly. We can split the column by delimiter, number of character, positions, lower to uppercase, upper to lowercase, and so on. So this is just the splitting of column based on delimiter. So for example, if I want to split the column by slash forward slash, it automatically recognize it, whether you want to just do it leftmost or rightmost, or each of them. So this is just the overview. I will be going through individually how you can work through that as well. Group by is grouping the rows based on the value and in the selected columns. We can change the data type. Currently it's date selected. We can change the data type as well. We will be working on that as well. With that, use first row as a header, use header as a first row. So that's we can do that. We can replace the value as well. So we can search value to find and replace with. We can always also merge queries. So for example, there are two similar queries with the same table structure. We can merge, and we can merge the queries in one query, or merge query as a new one as well. We can append query as well. So for example, there is the monthly data. So for the month of January the data is there, the other table has the data from February, we can always append the February in January as well. So this is combining everything. This is AI analytics. This is covered in the premium version of Power BI, and it whenever we click on it or do something, this is gives analytical information in this regard. But currently, it will ask for uh, you know f- for credentials, because we need premium account in order to do that as well. So other columns that I can specify is a transform column that has the same transformation part with any columns, and splitting the column, as well as applying some standard calculations and rounding information and stuff as well. So yeah, that's pretty much it. In the transform column, we can add column based on examples. Custom functions we can add, so it is the formula in M language, we can do that. We can invoke a custom function that can be developed, or based on conditions we can create a new column. We can also have index column automatically, or duplicate a column. And for the column manipulation as well, we can format it according to the requirements here. And we can also extract information to that as well. These are for number columns. So for example, here we can have calculations of absolute values, powers, and also logs. And if we want to go through, for example, date, then this date and time functions can also come into place, and we can create a new column based on date on that column. So this is pretty much it for the additional column. There are certain things that we can view, and we can see how we can do that. Monospaced, this means that it will be coming by default font. And column quality, this is important because each column will have on the top row, there is a validation rule that it can be applied, and you will just assess the profiling. So currently it's doing for 100 rows. We can also do for the entire data set as well, and it will load. So this means that it is checking whether the you the data type used are working correctly or not, is working correctly or not, because sometimes it has blank rows, null values, empty values. So it will give an option about how it is working. So for example, if I want to see here, and if I give number, decimal number as a data type, and there's text in between, so it will give an error in that. So this is important to have column quality. Column distribution gives an option that how many values are there, distinct values or unique values, or if there are some duplicate values as well, it will also specify accordingly. And it will have some things that you know uh, give an option that how many values and how many things that are being done. Column profile, this is also important. If I see here, so if I highlight one column, it will give an option that how many distinct value, what is the minimum number, what is the maximum number, standard deviation, and it's just the distribution that is being shown here. So for example, 1743 units has four values or something. So yeah, that's what it is for data preview, and just giving information related to meta data information. So yeah, that's what it is for um, view menu. And query dependency will open up that how this particular query is dependent, and what is the layout of that. This is very handy in that. We can also do query diagnostic in that. So we can have run query diagnostic and options. So I'll be going through that in our later videos as well. So this is pretty much it for the view of the Power Query editor, and we'll see you in next videos. Thank you so much.